Hello, everybody. I just want to tell a little story here today. Everybody that knows me knows I do stuff with the actual cast of the Dukes of Hazzard, and I build replica cars from the Dukes of Hazzard. These cars here are set and got dirty, which I've got more. This is the first General Lee that I'd built. I built several since. We still got the first one to build, and we still got the last one that I built. It's actually getting a new paint job on it right now to be used here real soon. It should be ready sometime in the next week or so. But I just want to tell a little story about this motor. I had Ben Jones, which is Cooter, call me one day, and it was like on a Thursday. And he said, "Hey, I need you to bring the General Lee to Salem, Virginia, to the ballpark, so we can use it up here at the event we're doing." And I'd actually just pulled the motor out of this General Lee. I'd pulled this motor out. I was going to build it, put it back in, and that's what I've done now. This was several years ago, but I built the motor and put it back in, and this is the motor that I had pulled out and I had built and put back in. It is a 440, and I've bored it and done a lot of stuff to it. Keith Black Teflon coated flat top pistons and several things I've done to it. It's a factory 4-speed car, but anyway, these 4-speed cars have a steel crank in them instead of a cast iron crank. But Ben had called me and said, "Hey," it was on Thursday, like I said, when he called, said, "I need you to bring the General Lee to Salem, Virginia. We got your room already booked, everything for the event tomorrow night." And I said, "Okay, I'll be there." Well, what I didn't tell Ben was we already had the motor out of this car. The motor was hanging on a cherry picker in front of the car as I was speaking to him on the phone. But I did not tell him that. I looked at one of the guys that works for him and I said, "Hey, you see that old motorhome over there across the road? Let's get the front pulled off that motorhome and let's get that motor out of it." This motorhome came with a steel crank 440 in it. And it was a low mileage motorhome. Most of these old motorhomes are. But we went ahead, we got stuff leaned up against the front of it now. We went ahead and took the front of the motorhome off, pulled the 440 out of this motorhome. As you can see, nothing but the transmission still in there. And then we took and put my flywheel, aluminum intake. We pressure washed the motor first, pulled it out, pressure washed it, painted it, put my flywheel, clutch pressure plate, everything on it, my aluminum intake, my aluminum valve cover, back on the motorhome motor there, and put it down in the General Lee. Had the General Lee at the event that Friday, the very next day in Virginia, and I live in Cookeville, Tennessee. Well, we was working the event that day, and I told Ben, I said, "Ben, you remember when you called me yesterday and told me that you needed the General Lee up here?" And he said, "Yeah, I sure do." I said, "Well, I didn't tell you then, but I'm going to tell you now. This car didn't even have a motor in it whenever you called me." And I told him about taking the motor out of the motorhome, that I'd painted it, put my aluminum intake and valve covers and everything on it. He said, "Pop the hood on it and let's see." So I popped the hood. He looked it all over and he said, "Man," he said, "y'all did all this since yesterday and got the car here in Virginia?" I said, "Yes." And he looked me right now and he said, "Son," he said, "you're the real Cooter." He said, "I just played the character on TV," but he said, "You're the real Cooter." And I really took that as a huge compliment. Think about that from time to time still, so that's why I thought I'd just tell you guys a story about that. There's, like I say, I do stuff with a lot of the cast of Dukes of Hazzard. We got some coming up events here. We'll be in June 13th to 14th. We'll be in Alabama with Catherine Bach. Them cats getting at it there. Here. But June 13th, 14th, we'll be in Alabama with Catherine Bach, and we're going to take the other Daisy car, and she'll be using it for photos. And then 21st, we'll be in Nashville with Rick Hurst. And then the 27th, 28th, we'll be in Kentucky with John Snyder, and Raymond Kahn is going to jump a General Lee there. But I just thought I'd tell that little story, share this little bit of information with you guys. Hope everybody's having a great day, and I'll be back again real soon, y'all.